The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. I've now read just about every Caitlin Starling book, I think. I am currently reading The Starving Saints. Actually, I got an arc somehow. The arc God's Blessed Me, and I'm reading The Starving Saints early, and I'm really enjoying that. I really enjoy this author. Caitlin Starling is a very good horror writer. Now that I've read all of her books, I can definitely say that. I said it after the first one, to be honest with you, because I could just tell she was a good writer. But now I have even further evidence to say it. This is a good book. I did like it. I don't think this will be for everyone. It's a horror novel, so you kind of have to be in the mood for horror. And this is one of her more horrific. Parts of this are a little harder to read for me because it's sort of realism horror instead of like monsters. There's like one monster kind of. Whatever. I'm not a person who is super freaked out by like monster horror, you know. I'm not scared of vampires because they're not real. But this book is about a cave diver, and imagining getting lost and stuck in a cave is possible, you know. So that's scarier to me than, you know, fake problems. But in addition to just the genre of horror, this book is sort of unique in that it has basically two characters and one setting, and it is very monotonous. I could definitely understand if someone found this kind of boring or too monotonous. I didn't mind it because this writing is so strong that it's so well written that I don't really care. A worse writer could have made this a lot worse. If I had written this, it would have been very boring. But Caitlin Starling is a good writer, and so it works. The strength of the writing carries this. The pacing is good, despite the sort of repetitive nature of some of this. It's not actually that repetitive, which is kind of impressive. But I could see how some people would still call this repetitive, just because the setting is so similar. So basically, to get into the actual summary so you can understand what the fuck I'm talking about, this is a sci-fi horror novel set in the future. We are on a little crappy planet where everyone's poor and everything sucks. Our main character, Jair, which is a cool name, Jair Price. Jair is a young 22-year-old cave diver, except she is not an experienced cave diver. Basically, all of the jobs on this planet suck and are really hard and dangerous and don't pay enough. But cave diving is something that does pay a lot. It is very dangerous, but the monetary reward drives a lot of people into doing cave diving. And it's dangerous enough and lucrative enough that most people they only have to do a couple of trips. And then, you know, they can retire basically and have enough money to live their lives. So Jair finds this opportunity to do this very well paying job. She expects this to be a really high-tech operation, and it is in the sense that she has to wear like this suit with like all this like vital signs that and that like controls her body and can move her and is very, you know, temperature regulated, oxygen regulated. It gives her like food. She has like a shunt implant for food intake, and she has a very high-tech suit. But it's there's a lot of money behind this project, she thinks, and it pays so much that she will only have to do this one job, and then she will not have to be a cave diver professionally again. So she lies on her resume. She has never professionally done cave diving. She's sort of done it recreationally in her younger years as a kid, but never anything this extreme. But she lies so that she can get this job to get a bunch of money. And she does that because she feels safe enough, because this seems like such a high-tech operation that she suspects she can do it, even though it is dangerous. But then when she gets down there, she finds out that this is not the high value operation she expected it to be. It is high value, but it isn't run by a big corporation. She expects to have a giant team of people working with her. She's the only diver because it's easier to go in alone. It's safer because there is one tunnel monster that detects like life and movement, and if she's too loud or if she leaves like a human trace behind, then the monster will come for her. So she's solo diving this, but she has access to a communications team topside. Except it's not a team, it is one woman. this woman named M, who she finds out funded this expedition for reasons that Jair doesn't know. She lies about her reasoning several times. She doesn't give all of the information to Jair up front. Jair didn't realize that there wasn't going to be a full team watching her 24/7, and it's just this one woman who's supposed to be watching her and controlling her suit 24/7, which is kind of, impossible because that woman also needs to sleep, so she knows that there are points and times where no one is looking out for her if she does need help. Although there is like a computer monitor and there's like alarms and alerts for if, something happens drastic. But this expedition goes expedition. Expedition. This expedition goes very wrong very quickly. And it is not what Jair expected, and she does not trust this woman leading her. So M is immediately very shady and very controlling, and she can physically control the suit. So she can stop the suit and prevent Jair from moving, or she can move the suit herself to make Jair do things. And there's medication implants, so this woman can sedate her at any time, could overdose her on morphine at any time, basically anything. She is given a full bodily autonomy to this woman, and she signed the contract. There's really no way out of this. She lied on her application to get the job, which M knows and is using against her. So this is a very scary, controlling situation. It is very claustrophobic. She spends weeks down in this cave, and she doesn't even know what she's looking for. And then she finds out that she is not the only person who has been on this expedition. A lot of other people have tried, and many of them have died. This is particularly dangerous, and it is not, some big corporate approved mission. This is some shady shit. And she's fucked, basically. Everything is fucked. This is definitely a horror novel. You have all kinds of horror elements. You've got the claustrophobia of being stuck in a cave for weeks alone. You have the bodily autonomy issue. She can't even it's just so much. The way M controls the suit, but also the way she can't take the suit off. She can't bathe, she can't eat, she has to have the shunt that she gets nutrition through. She cannot do anything. This is not a normal existence. This is a 24/7 just it's fucked. Everything's fucked. There's psychological horror elements where you don't know if she's going crazy or if supernatural things are happening or if real things are happening. Jair can't trust herself, but she also can't trust M because M gaslights her. She sees something and she's like, is that real? And M won't see it, but it's did M not see it, or did she just not tell Jair? Is she gaslighting her? Again, there's a monster chasing them. There's dead bodies in the cave who have died before. There's the danger of the climb and this cave system and things collapsing in. There's water and flooding. And, the constant worry of, if I'm underwater swimming this and my rebreather just gives out, fucked, dead, If one of her lines snaps when she's rappelling, fucked. There's supply issues. She's going really deep in this cave, and there are supply caches stored from these other expeditions before, but there's still, limited resources. She has to manage her suit battery, her nutrition. There's a lot going on. It is very high stakes constantly. Something is always going wrong or is in danger of going wrong at any point in time. So it's kind of, it's an action horror. The meaning of this book is probably more metaphorical. I'm not really a meanings analysis channel. I'm more of a writing analysis channel. Obviously, themes of control and abusive relationships. So the romance here is obviously not a fantastic romance. We only have two characters, so there's sort of a Stockholm syndrome romance between Jair and M. Because Jair's losing it, and she literally only has access to this one woman, and this one woman is responsible for keeping her alive. And she's not trustworthy all the time, but sometimes she is trustworthy. Sometimes she does help her and save her life. and it is this very complicated relationship where they can't trust each other, but they have to because there's no other option. So I'm sure it's clearly a metaphor for abusive relationships and the cycle of codependence, and depending on someone because you feel like you have to, or because they're the only person there and you have nothing else available to you at that moment. And I'm a writing analysis channel. Don't come to me for like the metaphors. You're on the wrong video, even though that's probably what you were looking for, like metaphorical analysis of the themes. Wrong channel, sorry. Then there's also grief. So Gyre's whole thing is she wants enough money to leave her shitty planet and go find her mom, who left when she was a kid. And so she's doing all of this for the past, and we find out M is also her whole thing is grief and focusing too much on the past and letting it ruin your present and also your future, and how you need to let go and move forward and move on, and healing and trauma. And again, you're not getting deep metaphorical analysis here, but there is a lot of character growth over the course of this book. It does work. I think it works sort of very realistically. Like, this doesn't get wrapped up real hunky-dory. I mean, no spoilers. But, like, this is clearly just a fucked situation all around. And the romance, it's really secondary. It's a really small thing. The point is the horror of this cave dive and, I guess, the codependence between these two people. It's not heavy on the romance. But I do find their relationship compelling because it's very dark and is born of this terrible trauma bonding through this bad situation. Gets off on a terrible start, sort of ends in a kind of, not fantastic place. Just because after this, there's really no happy ending from all this. I mean, there is like a happy ending technically to the book, but even if you lived through something this traumatic, like, you would be scarred. And they clearly are, and they're trying to move on both from their past stuff and from all the tragedy that happens in this cave. But I mean, they're not just like fully functioning human beings by the end of this, especially Gyre. So if you're looking for a very twisted, toxic relationship, this is a compelling one. But it is a sort of minimal part of this book. That's the best recap I can do. I watch a couple of YouTube channels that are just about book recaps, or they do like full book recaps. I could not do a full recap of this book. I think that's because it's all one setting. I couldn't remember the sequence of events if I tried. Some of them I could do logically, but there is a lot of going from Camp A to Camp B to Camp C. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. There's 6 camps. And it's a lot of like walking back and forth between them. And, there's different dangers. There's the tunnel monster. There's finding the dead bodies. There's water. Gyre's not a good swimmer. There's like a waterfall. So there are like different things happening. But it is like a lot of the sameness. It's all the same setting. And so I could understand someone getting bored by this book. I did read this on audiobook, which I think maybe helped because, you can put it on 2 times speed and roll through it. I thought the audiobook narrator was really good. She was really good at performance and like the heightened emotional moments, which there's a few of those. So she was really good. I could see like reading this textually, even I might get bored a bit. It is good writing, and I do think it's good pacing for what it is. And I do think some of the monotony adds to the atmosphere, because that's Gyre's life right now. She has been trapped alone in this dark cave for weeks and weeks, and is doing a lot of the same thing and going back and forth and doing like this hard physical stuff with no respite. And it's just a bad situation, and she's kind of losing it from that. That would be hard on anyone. And so I think the sort of boringer parts of the book work thematically with the atmosphere. So for me it works, but for someone else I could still see how they just wouldn't be able to get into it. So maybe I'd recommend the audiobook. Again, I haven't read the text, so maybe it's not like that at all, but that's what I would chance a guess that maybe the audiobook's the way to go. I wrote down that this is the second Caitlin Starling book with like claustrophobia. There's a part in The Starving Saints where there's also like a small tunnel being climbed through. And I think Caitlin Starling's good at writing that. Again, Caitlin Starling's a good writer. There's like good stakes here. And like this is horrific. Again, I'm not like squicked out by horror at all, but there were parts where I was like, oh, like that would be rough. Also wrote down, I found this sort of similar to The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson, especially at the beginning. So that is a book it's a sci-fi book about a woman who travels between worlds, like parallel universes, and she has a handler, much like Jair, who like operates controls and can like talk to her through comms and, you know, help her get back and forth between the universes. So this is like a really similar concept. And also in that book, that's a sci-fi book where the traveler and the handler fall in love. Although that book it's quite different. That's not a horror book. It's more like a drama, sci-fi, thriller kind of thing. I guess this is kind of a thriller. It's a horror. I don't know. Genres are weird. The Space Between Worlds also, the main character who's traversing has like lied about her experience for like shady reasons to get the job, you know. And in that book, all of the traversers are poor people, because in that book you can only travel to another universe if you're dead in it. And so like all the poor people who have shitty lives, who have died in all of these other universes, they're the only ones who can be traversers. And in this book, all the poor people do it because they're desperate enough to need the money to do it. So you had like a really sort of poor POC protagonist doing this like hard, dangerous expedition to another world, kind of. That was a similar, and then they fall in love with their handler. Although in The Space Between Worlds, there's a lot more going on. It's not one setting. There's a lot of characters, and the handler's less toxic. We'll put it that way. So if you liked this book, I would recommend The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. Or if you didn't like this book because you thought it was boring, I would recommend The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson, because there's a lot more action and a lot more characters going on in that one. So it's kind of like the same vibes, but maybe with a more interesting premise. That sounds mean, but I think that one's more accessible to a broader audience maybe than this. I could see how people find this boring. This is like a good book though. I think most people, or a lot of people, really like it. It has a 3.64 average rating. That's like okay. That's not incredible, probably because people found it boring. It was nominated for a Goodreads Choice Award in 2019 for Best Horror. So this does get praise. Again, it's a well-written book. I just don't think it would be for everyone. Is this my favorite Caitlin Starling book? Probably not. I liked it. I don't know that I would reread this. I think I liked it more than The Death of Jane Lawrence, just because The Death of Jane Lawrence was about straight people. This one gets a leg up just for being sapphic. I preferred Last to Leave the Room. I think that's my favorite Caitlin Starling novel. But I am enjoying The Starving Saints. I'm very happy I got to read that early. I'm very much liking it. I'm only like 75% of the way through, so I'm not finished, so I can't really compare it yet. The Starving Saints might be my favorite, actually. I think from a character's perspective, I think there's a bit more color and action in The Starving Saints. Last to Leave the Room is also sort of slow-paced. I have seen people call that boring as well. It is about a woman who spends a lot of time alone in her basement because she's kind of going crazy, and she discovers a doppelganger of herself in the basement. And so there's like weird sci-fi, magic, horror shenanigans there. So maybe The Starving Saints is my favorite, actually. I do really like Last to Leave the Room, though. I was really impressed by that. That was the first Caitlin Starling book I read, and it made me want to read all of her other books. And then I did that, and I enjoyed all of them, so good writer. Always on the lookout for Caitlin Starling's books. I haven't read her new novella, The Oblivion Bride, yet, though, but I will read that because I like this author, if you couldn't tell from the other 5 times in this video that I said that. But yeah, good book. I think this was her debut. Yes, this was her debut novel. I've seen a lot of praise for it. It deserves it. It's well written. It might not be your thing, but I liked it. And I think it's objectively a good book, even if subjectively not everyone would enjoy it. But it's good. So, 5 stars. Or like maybe 4.5. 5 stars. It's a good book. Good book, good themes. Not gonna analyze those. Someone else can analyze them. If you're a person who likes to analyze themes, you'll have a field day with this one. There's a lot of heavy topics and, interesting meat there to that discussion. But that's a discussion for another channel. Again, sorry if that's what you're looking for. No, more of a craft guy.